Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session titled Opportunities for Southeast Asians in AI Safety and Biosecurity with Ang Li-Lian. I'm Nguyen. I'll be the MC for this session. Following a 20-minute talk by Li-Lian, we'll move on to a live Q&A session where she will respond to your questions. You can submit your questions through swap card over here. Then after 10 minutes of questions, after more than 40 minutes of questions, we'll bring the Q&A to an end. If you have any other questions from Li-Lian or the BlueDot team, you can join their office hours happening after the session on Zoom. But now I'd like to introduce our speaker for the session. Li-Lian was born and raised in Malaysia. For the last 2 years, she has worked with BlueDot Impact as a product manager to support motivated, capable people in pursuing high-impact careers. Prior to that, she lived and worked in 7 different countries while completing her degree in data science and history with Minerva University. So without further ado, please welcome Li-Lian.
Hi. Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you all for coming to listen to my talk. Thanks for the introduction, Ryan. And I think I'll just kick us off here. So, as in the intro, I was born and raised in Malaysia for the first 18 years of my life, and in a town not quite Kuala Lumpur, but in Subang Jaya. And I was mainly involved in View Club, which is a community service organization where I organized lots of different events, trying to figure out different ways to do good or like make an impact in the world. I wasn't really quite sure exactly how I would do it, so I ended up just organizing lots of different things that felt like they were useful, fundraisers for charities, like tree planting, recycling campaigns, health awareness campaigns, but none of it quite felt like it stuck. I didn't really think that I was really moving the needle on anything. And when I was 18, I got accepted to Minerva University, where I was promised an education that would teach me all the practical skills that would be required to help me make an impact, that will make me a better problem solver, and to teach me the value of global community and like diverse thinking, and thinking about making an impact. And also they taught me how to learn effectively and also a bunch of other like meta skills that would help me improve over time. During this time, I worked in 6, I guess if you count Malaysia, that's 7 different countries, and lived there, made lots of different friends, got exposed to lots of different ideas. And in May of 2022, I graduated from Minerva with a double major in data science and history, an assortment of somewhat useful skills. And I felt when I graduated that I was the textbook definition of a journalist. I knew how to code things like web apps, websites, simulations and models. Had experience with doing event planning, curriculum development, some amount of like research, doing design for various things, teaching, but I wasn't really sure how exactly to apply my skills. Um, I was quite lost after graduation, as I'm sure many people can probably relate to. I wasn't really sure if I veered too far into the journalist side of things, and maybe I should start trying to specialize. But I also didn't really know what I would specialize in. I also had doubts about whether I should try to make my goal to come back to Malaysia and do good in Malaysia, or maybe my skills or my aptitude would be better served elsewhere in big international organizations or some other amorphous charity or society that was doing good that where I could best apply myself. Um, I was worried that I was still maybe too green, and that maybe I need to pick up skills, and that maybe it didn't matter what specific industry I was in, so long as like maybe in like 2 to 3 years, I could transfer those skills to a more like impactful career. But most of all, I think I was confused about what exactly I meant by impact. Uh, I knew that I wanted to have or spend the majority of my time making a positive change in the world, but I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know what the state of the world would look like when I had succeeded. I didn't even know what it would mean personally for me to have achieved this quite like lofty, ill-defined goal. So I ended up applying to just lots of different jobs post-uni, flip-flopping between different things that felt and sounded impactful, and kind of related to my skills. So things with titles like operations or generalist, data science or machine learning, even history, education. And I was really fortunate to have my application picked up by EAGxVirtual. Partway through my hiring round, they spun out of EAGxVirtual and became BlueDot. I think the reason why they spun out was because they wanted to focus more on running their AI alignment course and also to think more about how they could start to equip people with the knowledge, skills, and connections for a high impact career. And I think this mission really spoke to me. And in particular, their focus on the understanding of what the problem is during their intro courses, particularly with the main one that we run, which is the technical AI safety or like AI alignment courses that branch out eventually to the AI governance. And we also have another set of courses called like biosecurity, which is mainly for like pandemic prevention. Where in these courses, we equip people with a solid understanding of what the problem is, what are the things that people have tried, what are the levers that you can pull, what is the space of the things that you could try to do before helping you figure out what your best next steps are. And I think this was the kind of thing that I wished I had known when I was trying to pick a career or pick a thing to do. And I think specifically with AI safety, for example, it isn't just about trying to build AI or deploy AI safely. There's more specific questions that when you drill down, gives you a better understanding of the things that you could do. For example, like what are the risks from AI? Where do these risks come from? Which actors have the power to mitigate these risks? And what levers can each of these different actors pull to make sure that AI gets deployed safely? And if we talk about biosecurity, where we're trying to create a pandemic-proof world, where will the next pandemic start from? Where is the source of the first patient zero? If we don't manage to stop the first person from being infected, what can we do to prevent early infections, prevent and contain early infections? And if we fail at that, what are the things that we can do to minimize population harm? And to what extent are technologies ready and deployed for us to be able to use them? And I think back then, when I was thinking about what I could be doing, I thought of things far too broadly, thinking about things like improving education without really thinking about what are the reasons why educational attainment is not like at 100%, or like what I was even trying to gain by having lots of people be educated. I just thought of like a general good thing and pointed myself in that direction. And I think by being at BlueDot, I was able to think more critically about the different specific things that I could do. So in this talk, I wanted to cover a bit about the advice that I would have given to my younger self at the time when I was thinking of what I would do. And I hope that through this advice, maybe you will feel some inspiration or a sense of other opportunities that you have back in Southeast Asia. Because at the time when I was graduating university, I was very pessimistic about what I'd be able to do back in Malaysia. I thought that the only thing that would really move the needle on things was if I joined politics. And I think the idea of a political career didn't quite resonate with me, and it felt like there were too many barriers. And now I can see that I didn't actually know what I meant when I said I wanted to do politics, just as I didn't really know what I meant when I said, like, when I was younger, that I wanted to start a charity or start a business, because I didn't have like a particular goal that I was heading to. And if my story doesn't quite resonate with you, or if you feel like there are potentially like other paths that you wanted to explore, I also wanted to highlight some examples of work from our BlueDot Southeast Asian alumni. For for your inspiration. And at the end of this, also share some upskilling opportunities that you can do with BlueDot. So as for advice for my younger self, and I will caveat this by saying that this is definitely not an exhaustive list and also not like particularly prioritized. It's more of just like ideas for specific things that would have helped me sharpen where I was heading. And I'd like to think of it in like 4 broad categories, where the first 3 are thinking about enabling the change. So allowing work to be done to build and deploy AI safely, or to build a pandemic-proof world, having the right environment and kind of like resources in place for this to happen. And then the last one, doing the actual work that is more like directed towards the goal. So with fostering an environment for change, some examples of things that I could have done or could have had as goals for myself was to design regulations on the use of AI and synthetic biology. I know that Southeast Asia is not at the forefront of these technologies. We don't quite have the political power to stop or pause AI, or even really like strong arm anybody into doing anything. But we are the place where these emerging technologies will be used. And I think that there's a lot of work that can be done to help us be prepared and maybe even lead the charge in creating proactive policies, knowing what we know about the potential risks and how they might be deployed. The second is with connecting entrepreneurs with funders. And I think a lot of the difficulty with innovation, whether it is with creating new vaccine rollout technologies like PPE, materials, or even to think about labs where we can create like evaluations and try to run like third-party evaluations for different companies. A lot of the challenges come from the lack of funding. And if there was a way that I could have connected or created funnels to foster government philanthropic initiatives to support this work, I think this could really have boosted a lot of the work that's been done in the area. Like one area of things that are like ideas that could be done. Second is like with creating knowledge. I was quite Western centric, perhaps, when I was living and studying and doing my degree in the US, where I thought like all the best think tanks were elsewhere. But I think now I've broadened a bit of my perspective to see that there are also lots of great think tanks in Southeast Asia and in Asia in general, like the Asia Center for Health Security, which are working directly on research and work towards like pandemic preparedness and also increasing our biosecurity. There are red teaming hackathons which happen. I think Singapore's AC has recently held one, and there are other countries in Asia which are also quite keen on running hackathons like this to be able to boost their protection against AI. And even something as simple as choosing an AI safety or biosecurity related capstone thesis, and then using that to go on to do a PhD to explore new technologies would have been like a good pathway for me to do. It doesn't have to be necessarily novel to begin with, but it can definitely be something that relates to it like later on and can be a stepping stone. In the third category of things, it's like finding people to work on a problem. I think a lot of the challenges sometimes with working in Southeast Asia on fairly niche problems is that it's a bit lonely when you're unable to find other people who are thinking about the same problems, who are energized about the same things. And there is perhaps a lack of community that is around, or like community centered around a particular problem. And I think there's a lot of value in starting like co-working spaces, like bringing people together to upskill, read the latest research that's come up, or synergistically create research together. And also just like connect each other with other opportunities in space. If I could go back in time and tell my younger self that this was like a big gap, I think I would have also been able to be connected with a lot more people in the region who are thinking about these things instead of being like kind of like myopic in my previous view. And in the last category of things with working directly on the problem, there's with pandemic prevention, for example, there's a lot of a gap with developing business plans to make stockpiling PPE or creating like pandemic related technologies viable in non-pandemic times, which would really help in the case when the pandemic actually strikes, to be able to ramp up production quite quickly when you have a lot of the existing technologies already kind of like at the ready. And I had no idea that this was even like a problem until I had taken the biosecurity course. Another thing I learned recently from speaking to some people from Singapore's AC is that there is a big talent gap in their AC. And I think with a lot of policy groups that are working on emerging technologies in general, with finding people who have both the technical and policy expertise to execute on it. So if you're thinking of creating a regulation for companies to run evals, you do need somebody who's able to read through what the evals are and to know like to what extent they will work. What are the holes in this? Similar with like pandemic response, you need people to understand the efficacy of different technologies, how they could be deployed, and finding people who have both these skills is quite rare. And like if I could go back in time, like perhaps I would have told myself like, you got a machine learning like data science degree. If you had like studied more about policy, this could be or upskilled in policy, this could have been like another thing that you could have done. And compiling this list for this talk actually made me really excited about all the potential work that I could be doing in Southeast Asia. And I don't think I could have had these ideas without having a strong understanding of the space. What is the end state that we're trying to get to? What are the challenges with getting to this stage? And also, how can I, with my particular set of skills, help move the needle on the problem? And yeah, but that's just my story, obviously, and it's quite specific to me. There are also lots of other people, 85 alumni to be specific, who have completed our AI safety and biosecurity courses, who you might want to connect with, and maybe get inspiration from them and see like if you're trying to look for things that you could do or figure out like what the pathway is for yourself. These might be other role models for you. There are lots of different ones of them, but I'm just gonna highlight a few because like for the sake of time. We have some people here who have started up like an AI safety standards lab, MacInterp research groups, running like upskilling workshops for AI safety, and have leveraged their credential with our courses, and also continued on working in like the biosecurity field, either like continuing to gain like research credentials or just like doing direct work. And I'm just gonna like talk through two of these stories, just so that we can have like a better picture of who these people are. So one of these people is Chan Jun Shen. We had actually connected before I joined BlueDot, when I was thinking of like what I wanted to do. And I think at the time he was still working at his robotics job and trying to figure out like how he could contribute. He was connected with EA Singapore, where he started to learn more about AI safety and became quite convinced that, this is the thing that I really want to be spending my time doing. And I want to find a way for me to move into this field, transition into this field. So he took our AI safety fundamentals course. He connected with a bunch of different people, learned about the different techniques. And through these connections, he slowly transitioned out from his previous job in robotics and is now working as a research engineer at OpenAI. And he's come back to facilitate our course, I think like once in the past year. And is still like a member of our community. Another one of these stories is Nikki. She was working on like public health related initiatives, and was trying to figure out how she could work specifically on biosecurity. She took our course, and was connected with two other participants in the course, the three girls on the top right, and the three of them actually joined together and they submitted a project for the Nuclear Threat Initiative biosecurity competition and came up as like the first runner-up, which is amazing. And since then, she has continued on with her trajectory with working in biosecurity and is now a research assistant at the Global Health Institute in Singapore. And I think these are just like a couple of samples of people from Southeast Asia who have gone on to do impactful things in the space. And hopefully this serves as a point of inspiration for you. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can contribute, you can check out our courses and scan these QR codes. The curriculum is free online if you would like to go at it at your own pace, or you're also welcome to apply to our upcoming courses. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Li-Lian. Just want to repeat again, if you have any questions, put them in swap card and I will read them out for Li-Lian. And while we're waiting for some more questions to trickle in, I'll ask first, what have the program changed since you started organize these courses? And has there been anything that you learned from the participants and made the change to the courses?
Yeah. So we're constantly updating the curriculum. I think with AI safety and biosecurity, and particularly with AI safety, there are fields that are like rapidly changing. New developments happening all the time. And our course leads are make sure that the curriculum gets updated so that all the materials are in the latest. And also we've made a lot of changes to our like the course is split up into two sections. The first 8 weeks of the course are called the learning phase, where you have like a discussion session on specific materials, and it's more of like learning basically. And then the last like 4 weeks, you pick a project to work on, and you that is related to the material to submit it by the end. And we've tweaked a lot with the kind of support that we give to people, the ideas, the kind of like structure to get more people to be submitting higher quality projects by the end of the course.
Thank you so much. Yes, there's another questions in swap card from Hashita. Hi, Lillian. How to decide that we are a benefit among both the pathways, the governance or the other one in this domain? I'm assuming it's a question for the AI safety track.
Yeah, the technical AI safety course or the AI alignment course is more geared towards people who are looking to do like AI safety research. So more on like the research side of things. Whereas on the governance track, it's more for people who are thinking of like policy levers, different policy levers for AI governance. So this could be in also like technical AI governance where you're trying to build governance type tools. But you're thinking more along the lines of building policy as opposed to thinking of like specific like technical research.
Another questions on swap card is it a virtual or in-person course?
But they're all online courses. Yeah.
Angel asks, I'm talking to many non-technical people who would like to learn more about AI safety in particular. Are there any resources you would point them to, whether there's a course or otherwise, to become familiar? The BlueDot one still seems quite technical, including the governance one. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there are a bunch of other more like intro to AI courses that are online. I think on our website there is a link to different types of resources, and I can share them after the talk as well, or you can find it like on our website. Yeah.
Thank you. Fellow asks, I would like to ask what are the requirements before someone can apply for the AI safety fundamental program?
Um,
Because I have applied and I'm yet to get back to hear back.
okay, yeah, cool. So you can check out the dates for when you can expect to hear back from us on our website. And in terms of the requirements, it is more specific on the website itself, but as a general like run through, we're looking for people who have the prerequisite skills. So for the alignment course, it's some amount of understanding of machine learning. For the governance course, it's like some amount of like policy background. Um, and then we're looking for people who show kind of like how they intend to use the course towards working on AI safety. And also just some general sense that you are like committed to actually doing the course.
Thanks, Lillian. Sergio asks, I've been a software developer for the past 10 years. What advice do you give me for exploring the AI safety field and whether my experience is a good fit for it?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of potential for it to be related. I'm not sure like what specific kind of software development that you do. I think with like technical AI safety, a lot of the things they look for is like machine learning experience in particular. But having like software proficiency could also be useful depending on the specific skills that you do. Uh, Depending on your level of familiarity with AI safety, if you're quite new to the field, you could take our like intro courses. If you're already like quite familiar with all the material, I'd recommend you checking out like MATS or other like research focused programs. Um, if you are perhaps like really keen on improving your like coding abilities, like technical proficiency, there's also another program called like Arena, where they focus more on the actual like software like coding skills as opposed to our course, which focuses a bit more on like the different policy or like research agendas.
Angel also have a question. Do you think there's room or need for creating yet another AI safety course for the general public within the AI ecosystem?
That's a good question. I guess lots of more like follow-ups to that first is like what is your like target audience for the new for this new AI safety course? What do you think is missing from the existing courses that your course would provide? Um, and I guess like how do you intend for the people who take this new AI safety course you have to contribute? And I think this will maybe like help, but it is kind of difficult to give advice without knowing too much about the specifics of the course that you're planning.
I also have a question. Ever since you started working with BlueDot, have you changed your mind about anything for field building or capacity building for AI safety and biosecurity?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I used to be like really, really pessimistic about the role that Southeast Asia could play in AI safety. I think because our course was very no, I think it's because like more like I didn't really know that much about AI safety, and the most of the literature I read was about preventing like existential risk. And a lot of the existential risk comes from the people who are building the frontier AI models, and the people who can stop the frontier AI models are like countries like the UK, the US, the EU, and maybe to some extent China if China is developing something frontier. But I think nowadays I'm way more optimistic or hopeful about Southeast Asia's role in preventing like more local harms. because the places that these models are going to be deployed is in Southeast Asia. As it is will be in the rest of the world as well, but we will be affected. And if our policy doesn't change quickly enough to respond to this, I think we will be in very deep trouble. And like if I was back home and if I was working back home, I think this would be one of the things that I would try and go do.
Thank you, Li-Lian. There's another question for the program. Um, they Chantel want to know when is your next cycle starting for the intake for the AI alignment
We don't have a specific date yet for the alignment course. I think we're in the process of thinking of how to make it more accessible to people. I think there was another question where somebody asked if the alignment course was suitable for them because it was like they weren't sure if they had the right skills. And I think we've received this feedback a lot of times. And we're trying to think of a way to revamp the alignment course such that it better fits with people who are coming in from different backgrounds. So if you're more technical, if you're newer to being technical, if you're like already like a genius with Macinterp, you don't need to like do the whole Macinterp module again, that sort of thing. But it would be really helpful to us if you apply to show your interest so we know that there are people who are excited about having a course like this. And we're going to work on creating more like specialized versions of the courses or something that's a bit more targeted for people.
Thank you. Currently on Swapcart, there's no other question. But I've been wondering about the the past alumni of your programs, and I'm really curious to know what the community of BlueDot is like, and what kind of opportunities or conversations have been started in the community.
Yeah, so we have a pretty big Slack channel with a few thousand people who are all like past participants or facilitators from our courses. Um, and lots of people share opportunities for doing AI safety work in that Slack channel, whether it's for like fellowships, job openings, reading groups, like local events that happen. And I think there are a fair number of people who have found their next career step or their next role like through this like channel. There's also a lot of discussions that go on around new research or papers that come out. People post links to things and they share knowledge. Um, yeah, and I think it's quite a helpful and wholesome community as much as like like an amorphous Slack can be. I find it quite exciting to see um, so many people come together who care about the same thing.
That makes me think about the online aspect of the program, right? Is
Mhm.
there any particular ways you've found helpful in cultivating these online communities?
Yeah. For one thing, even though it's an online course, it's run with like cohort-based learning. So when you apply to the course and once you're accepted, you will be assigned to a group of like 6 to 8 people and an expert facilitator. And this group, you'll meet with them once a week for 12 weeks, really, really get to know each other, um, and have conversations with each other. And we also run a bunch of different like speed networking events throughout where you get a chance to mingle and like chat with other people on the course. And we have a community manager who has been running or helping to facilitate local group meetups. I think we just had one in New York that happened yesterday. It's quite fun.
Wow, that's so exciting to hear. Um, there's one question in general about relating to AGI coming in the question on everyone's mind. Overall, how do you see it developing in terms of impact on society, economy, jobs in the coming years?
Could you repeat the first part of the question? I didn't quite hear it.
How do you see AGI like developing in terms of impact on society, economy, jobs in the coming year?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Very big question.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like different kinds of categories of harm. There's one where it could kind of like um where it could enable people to cause more harm. I mean, there's obviously lots of good that come with having this AI be developed, but we're just talking about like the potential for harm here. Um, there are lots of people who are already building like very narrow AI, leveraging like the more like general AI systems that we have to build weapons for war or cybersecurity attacks um, for like very proficient like scamming or like even like phishing attempts to people. And this is like a very like wide range of like the degree of harm that happens. Um, and this obviously is going to affect lots of different people around the world, whether it is to make like wars even more deadly than they are, or to like destabilize different economies or societies, and also just to cause like for individuals like the risk of having your data or like your money and your just like mental health just like torn apart by malicious actors trying to use AI. There's also lots of potential for job displacement or misinformation, where there are lots of very proficient deepfakes. I don't know if you've seen like the YouTube videos online of people creating very, very convincing deepfakes of Trump or Obama or like any other like or like key figure. And it's almost impossible to distinguish it from something real. And it's getting like better and better at doing this every day. And this could really shake the information landscape. And make make it so difficult to know what's real and what's not, and cause a lot of like instability. And also just be used and deployed in different countries where there's like less political stability to topple governments or to just like wreak havoc. There's also the side of the conversation that talks about like the existential threat from AI, where it's possible that we're building a system that could one day um, be able to like have its own goals that don't align with ours. And perhaps one of those goals could be to end humanity. Um, yeah. And different experts will disagree on the percentage likelihood of this. But I think there are a lot of people who have some sense that this is like a very real threat um, as we like accelerate our progress towards like making AGI.
Thank you so much. I think we're gonna take one last question. Do you think which factors can contribute to help other Southeast Asian countries that are not visible on the AI safety map yet to secure funding for their AI safety projects or organizations?
Which organizations can help them secure funding? Is that the question?
Which factors can help the countries that are not visible on the AI safety map yet to secure funding?
Um, yeah. I think in general, having like a very strong like theory of change or like case for why um or how your organization intends to um like prevent harms from AI. I'm not particularly an expert in this, but I know that Singapore is probably the one country that has the most that they basically have an AC and no other Southeast Asian country has an AC. And I think they've been like trying to quite aggressively hire for more talent. And they have like different partner organizations under them that are doing different things. And I'm not sure if perhaps like that is a better avenue to go look for advice on these things. Obviously, they're funded by the Singapore government, but maybe there are people who are connected in that ecosystem who might know better about the specific landscape here. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Li-Lian. There's a few more questions, but I think we can move that to the office hour in the next hour. That concludes the Q&A part. And as a reminder, If you want to talk more with Li-Lian or the BlueDot Impact team, you can join the office hours happening straight after the session on Zoom. Thank you so much for watching.